Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Will there be any conflict of interest if a person combines the roles of a chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform crew every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV, your talent station via DSTV 255 and UHF 43.
Corporate Governance Platform, your strategy for the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities. Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform, coming to you live from MITV here in Lagos. I am your anchorman, Tunde Odeyemi, and today's episode we are going to be looking at the importance of induction and continuous training of directors. And to lead in this conversation is Mr. Francis OLAWALE. Mr. Francis OLAWALE is a member of the Governing Council and the current Honorary Treasurer of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. He is an accountant by training, a governance and compliance practitioner, also a Chartered Secretary. He is the principal partner of Frank Nominees, a secretarial, governance and business support firm, and the founding partner of Frank's Management Consulting International, a training, financial advisory and process engineering firm. Francis is an IFC certified board evaluator and ISO 9000-2015 certified auditor. Mr. Francis OLAWALE, you are welcome to Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here again. Thanks for having me, and good afternoon to our viewers.
Thank you for finding time to join us on today's program.
Yes.
Today we want to take a look at the importance of induction and continuous directors training. And I'd like to start by asking you, what does the term induction of directors really mean?
Okay, well, you could express it in various ways, but just for the purpose of our discussion. Induction essentially infers welcoming somebody on board, simply stated.
Okay.
It entails integrating a particular person into a fold, or familiarizing a new person into a fold. And then with respect to our discussion, the fold or the entity being talked about here will be the board. So induction, in the perspective we want to discuss it, is welcoming a particular director, a new director, so to say, on board, a particular board. And essentially, induction must have, certain strategic dimensions. It must familiarize the new director with the company's business, the company's board operations, and then the company's markets. It must essentially as well, familiarize the director with the company's relationship, internal and external relationships. And then of course, it should also cover the big one, the roles and liabilities of a director. Wow. All of these, presents a good landing ground for a director to function properly in the new board being inducted into.
Okay, having explained what the induction of directors really is, so what are the inherent benefits in this exercise?
Okay, well, in my opinion, some of the benefits, of course, they are not exhaustive, but some of the benefits, as I will see it, number one is the fact that, and very important, number one is the fact that it gives the new director a sense of importance and respect. Okay. And then what that does is that it builds his confidence. Wow. He will be integrated appropriately, and then he will be able to function. He's bringing a lot of things on board: talent, skills, exposure, experiences. He will be able to bring all of that to bear when he's giving soft landing. Another thing it does is that it presents the company an opportunity to once again communicate expectations.
Okay.
Directors are defined by functionality.
Wow.
Essentially, a director must have an ability to control and manage, the business. That's what CAMA, 269 CAMA, defines a director. So a director is bringing all of that, to bear. However, each company have their peculiarities. Each company, have their corporate goals. So an induction time provides an ample opportunity for them to communicate expectation. Another thing, it does is that it provides an avenue to disseminate information, and then it helps to build chemistry. A chemistry which will enhance, good working relationship between the new director and the existing directors. Just to mention a few.
Well, I actually like the idea or the aspect of communicating expectations, because from onset the directors knows what is expected of him or her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, will you now recommend, an induction for a director who has excellent background in governance and administrative?
Oh, definitely. You recall that when I was, making the last point, I did say that each company has its peculiarity. No matter how much of a genius you are, no matter how much of acumen you possess or endowments, that you have, you must essentially understand the dynamics, the operational dynamics, the business dynamics of a particular entity. When you understand the dynamics, you will be able to apply your skills, your talents effectively to provide peculiar and tailored solutions for the company, which is the essence of bringing every director on board. No director is brought on board just to fill the seats. Every director plays a role. And if every director is going to play a role, any inadequate or inefficient director will create a gap. So a director who is coming on board needs to understand the peculiarity, the culture essentially of that particular company. In that instance, he will be able to be of use. He will make himself of use for the company. He will be able to apply the skills and the experience he's bringing on board effectively for tailored solutions for the particular board.
Wonderful. Now, why do you think the code, the Corporate Governance Code of 2018, why do you think it recommends that the induction of new directors should take place as soon as feasible after their appointments?
Okay, well, the Principle 13 of the code that states that. I'll just answer you with an illustration.
Okay.
Can you picture a pilot or a driver or the captain of a ship that does not have the atlas or does not have the GPRS machine to provide direction, or he does not even have prior knowledge of the direction to the destination of the journey? What will happen? Doom. So if a director comes on board, he does not have an understanding of the corporate objectives, he does not have an understanding of the relationships, the industry of the company, the particular markets of the company, how things work around that company. It's not going to be of good use to the company. It will be a mismatch. So the code, in trying to prevent that, stated and provided that as soon as a director comes in, let him have an induction. So he has an understanding of the business he has come here, to do. So essentially, that's the reason, why the code says that. So I also support that. Every director coming on board should immediately, as soon as possible. And then, even though the code didn't define that, of course, it's always said, it's always expected that the time lag between the board meeting and the information that is provided to the director, there should be some time space so that the director can digest. Okay, so if there's going to be a future board meeting, I want to assume that the code requires that a director should have been properly familiarized and fraternized with the company before his first, board meeting, so it will be effective in the proceedings.
Okay, you've talked a lot on the benefits of the induction. Now, can you describe the board induction process?
Okay, so the board induction process, in no particular order, is not cast in stone.
All right.
Okay, so the very first thing, if someone is designing a board induction, the very first thing I would say is to draw up a realistic program. And then when you're talking about realistic program, it will entail several things. It may entail, depending on the kind of company, it may entail such things as product presentation. It may entail such things as exposure to minutes and strategy documents. Okay. It may entail such things as site visits. It may entail such things as meeting with major shareholders, external advisors of the company. So when you draw up such program, knowing what the activities will be, then you inform the inductees essentially. And then, of course, you're going to have facilitators to facilitate all of these processes. So you inform the facilitators as well, and you ensure that you give everybody, enough notice, and then you just work out, that program. So depending on the company, basically.
Depending on the company?
Yes. All of those programs that I listed out, I mean, for example, if the company does not have manufacturing sites, there won't be a need for visitation, to see it. If the company is a service company that does not produce, that does not have product, there won't be a need, for product presentations. So I just gave all of those, as guide. So if I'm to summarize, draw up a program, draw up a calendar, inform all the players in the induction exercise, and then you run through with it. Of course, get a board approval. Okay. And then run through with it.
Okay. Now, you have mentioned the process of board induction. I want to go a little bit into education of the board members now.
Okay.
Now, how is induction of directors different from continuous education of directors?
Very simple. Induction is done at the time you're trying to integrate a new director into the board. You're trying to, onboard a director. But continuous education is reskilling, retooling, resharpening of the skills of directors who are already on board. And that's going to be a continuous process in view of the business realities and vicissitudes of the company. I mean, there are different developments every now and again. It's important for the people who are leading, so to say, who take, the captain position in steering the ship of the company. It's important for them to be in touch with current realities, and then it's important for them to constantly enhance their capacity to be able to perform. So that's the essence of continuous training. So to answer your question in some way again, induction is done at the point of someone joining the board, while continuous education is a continuous thing.
Thank you very much. Induction is at the point of joining the board, right?
Yes.
And the continuous education is a continuous thing.
It's a regular thing.
At this point, we'd like to go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion with Mr. Francis OLAWALE. Please don't go away.
Corporate Governance Platform, a program from the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Will there be any conflict of interest if a person combines the roles of a chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform crew every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV, your talent station via DSTV 255 and UHF 43.
Corporate Governance Platform, your strategy for the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities. Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
You are welcome back. We are still discussing the importance of board induction and continuous education for directors. And I still have with me here in the studio, Mr. Francis OLAWALE, FCIS, Fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, member of the Governing Council of ICSAN, and of course, Treasurer of ICSAN. Mr. OLAWALE, you are discussing the importance and the benefits of board induction. I would like to refer you to a particular provisions in the Code of Corporate Governance. And the code says, all directors should participate in periodic, relevant, continuing education programs to update their knowledge and skills and keep them informed of new developments in the company's business and operating environment. Now, what is the significance of this particular provision?
Okay, I would like to look at this, even the training being referred to here, I would like to look at it in two perspectives, in two dimensions. One is general training, general capacity enhancement of all board members, basic enhancements, and then specific identify gap areas of individual directors. These two-dimensional trainings should be done on a regular basis.
Okay.
And the reason why that is, like I said earlier in my illustration about the ship, about the captain of the ship, the board is the leadership of the company. Have you ever wondered when regulatory sweeps or when regulatory reforms, want to take place, what the regulators do? They just clear the board, and more often than not, the rest of the company, the rest of the staff are left, because when it is fine with the board, it's fine with the company. The board provides direction, and you cannot afford to have inadequacy or inefficiency on board. And I would like to also refer to a concept, one of the theories, that justify the need to entrench corporate governance in an entity is the theory of transaction, is the transaction cost, theory. One of the concepts that corroborates it is the concept of bounded rationality. And bounded rationality, basically, the import of it is you cannot give what you don't have. Wow. You cannot perform beyond your capacity, irrespective of your intentions, irrespective of your good intentions. So when it comes to board, good intentions don't win. It is only the fit and proper that can deliver. And that is the key reason why the board, so the code mandates that every director should be trained. I mean, for example, we've been talking about after African continental free trade agreements amongst some African companies. It's going to affect some companies that play in certain space. If the board does not understand the import of that, the risk that come with it, the opportunities that come with it, the board is going to fumble. There have been a lot of policy nationwide now, nationally speaking, a lot of policy, a lot of reforms. If a board does not understand how to position the company to thrive in the midst of all of those, then it spells doom for the company. And you can just imagine if a whole gamut of stakeholders' interests and future, so to say, are tied in the competence of the board. You can imagine the level of risk involved. So that's the reason why the code says the board must constantly, be capable. And for them to be capable, they need to be constantly enhanced. Okay. That's the impulse of that.
Let's take this conversation a little bit to board evaluation.
Okay.
Now, what's the link between board evaluation and development of the appropriate training for board members?
Okay, simply put, you realize that that principle 13.3 basically says whatever gaps are identified. So principle 14.5, which is talking about board evaluation, says whatever when the directors are evaluated, whatever gaps are identified or whatever is found to be unsatisfactory about each director's performance, should be used as training needs for the next, training. Okay. Of course, before every training, there will be training needs analysis. You want to identify the gaps in each person. Okay. You don't just go training. And that was why when I was talking about training of the board, I put it in two dimensions. General knowledge required of every member of the board. Then peculiarities of each director. I mean, I may be very good in financial analysis and be poor in reviewing of documents.
Wow.
So if somebody who is good in reviewing documents is subjected to a training to review documents, that's like preaching to the converted, so to say. So you've got to understand what the need of each director is. So the link between them is that board evaluation helps to flag the inadequacies, so to say, or the gaps in each director's skills, and then that provides information for the next training program for each of the directors. So that's the link. Board evaluation helps to flag the weakness in each director, and that becomes the basis to train that particular director.
Board evaluation opens up the gap, then
the continuous training addresses the identified problem.
Wonderful, wonderful. I also like to go back to the corporate governance code.
Okay.
Say the code provides that training programs should be at the company's expense, but should not be such that puts that is not such that puts the company under strain because of their finances.
Yes.
Now, what would be the guiding principle in attaining equilibrium between these two ends?
Okay, well, funny enough, the code didn't provide that, but in my opinion, from my experience, I will say the guiding principle should be prudency, necessity, quality, value for money. And then when you're talking about value for money again, it entails the 3 E's as they are called. You know, the economy, the efficiency, and then effectiveness. And then what that says is that the cost with respect to what you want to achieve, is it appropriate? Are you spending too much to train one director? Are you spending, you know, in the right proportion? So the economy of the training, then the efficiency, the use, you know, of resources. I mean, for example, if you are inducting or you are training, if there are facilitators within that within your reach that could achieve the same result that external facilitators will achieve, why not use that? You know, then the third thing would be, are you able to achieve what you want to achieve? I constantly kept saying capacity enhancements, you know, reskilling and you know, sharpening the skills of directors. So at the end of the day, at the end of the training, are the directors better off? You know, so to just put it in summary, to answer your question, I will say the principle of prudence, the principle of quality, a proper mix of all of those. It's not cast in stone. You don't have to go to Dubai. You don't have to conduct a training in a hotel. If the finances of the company cannot afford that at that point in time, you could do within your boardroom and achieve the same result. So a blend of all of these principles, you know, should be put into consideration.
Wonderful. Let me recap that. A proper mix of prudency, quality, value addition, necessity.
Yes.
And you also mentioned economy.
Yes, I said value for money. You know, and then when you're talking about the value for money, then you take note of those 3 E's. Economy, which is the cost being expended. Efficiency, how you use the resources, and then the effectiveness. Are you able to achieve what you are set out to achieve in enhancing the director?
Okay, Mr. OLAWALE, you are a council member of ICSAN,
yes,
and of course a fellow of ICSAN.
Yes.
Now I want to talk about ICSAN. Has your institute been playing any role concerning helping companies and other organizations,
yes,
in the areas of induction and training of
Yes,
directors?
we've been doing that.
Have you been doing that?
The institute has a training, you know, and consultancy department, and the institute provides these services to organizations. There are a lot of clients of the institute. Then on another level, on another dimension, the institute, you know, has a pool of practitioners,
wow,
a pool of firms. If you go to the institute website, you'll see a list of firms. Each one of them has been drummed to be able to do this. And then with respect to board evaluation, the institute has certified and empowered some people. If you contact the institute, then, you know, you will have a list of all of those. Some people have been certified and empowered specifically to be able to perform board evaluation. So the institute has been playing a very wonderful role, you know, in this regard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis OLAWALE. This is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Corporate Governance Platform. It's been wonderful and educative talking to Mr. Francis OLAWALE, FCIS, council member, fellow, and treasurer of ICSAN. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We invite you to join us again next week, same station, same time. I remain Tunde Odeyemi. Bye for now.
Corporate Governance Platform, a program from the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Will there be any conflict of interest if our person combines the roles of our chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform crew every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV.